Live and direct.
We are live. Welcome, Podfeet.
Live and direct from Southern California, where it's always cloudy and overcast and drizzles a lot.
Has been a lot past couple months.
I've been chatting with a developer named Max who lives in Seattle, and he signed his last email to me, overly sunny in Seattle. And like he moved there because he wanted cold and damp, and it's been sunny ever since he got there. And wow. Man, I told him to give us our sun back.
Yeah, we need it.
Well, it's probably time for something, but since Al never comes to the show anymore, anybody gonna give me a roll call? We got rules. I think we're gonna have to assign somebody to. It's been Jason lately, but Jason's not here. Who's got it?
Frank got back to me. Your Max podcast, YMP.
Your Max podcast. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to do roll call whether you guys give me the GIF or not. We have Seamus and Kevin and Jill and John and Rose and Rick and Sandy and Michael and Zoe bringing up bacon from. Well, wait a minute. Are you? Oh, I haven't seen this one. Oh, it's a throwback. Oh my gosh, I didn't know she did that. Cha cha boo chi cha cha. I love it. Roll call. That is perfect. Oh, excellent. Leftover yarn from a Doctor Who scarf. Ooh, that's a pretty stitch, though. I like that crochet hook. Well, this isn't unusual. This weekend. Yeah, I haven't seen one of those.
It almost looks like a toothbrush handle or something.
Yeah, I've seen other people use them, but I've never used one myself. Yeah, I think we should have a knitting crocheting circle. All right. Should I start?
Yes.
All right, here goes. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, May 28th, 2023, and this is show number 942. It's weird to see suddenly my own face get really big on the screen to my right.
Do you want me to just leave it small?
No, they voted. That's what, John, I know in particular, wanted to look, always be able to see me as big as possible. So that's what they voted on, right?
John and Kevin, I think both.
Yeah. Let's see. This is what I want to bring up. Oh, nope.
Now your volume meter's going into the red. Are you okay on volume?
Let's check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm where it's supposed to be. This podcast hosted at podfeet.com. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. So -6 to -9 is where it's supposed to be. I guess I'm going up to -3 if I really get excited. I'll try to be a little calmer. Let's see, I need a chapter mark. And copy link. And security, no. Here it is. All right. I should save and see up. Bill, I just learned something. Did you know that you can create a folder in like Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, and when you put audio files into it, Auphonic will automatically run a preset you've told it to run based on what's in that folder? Just learned that from, actually learned it on Twitter. Because I posted the article I wrote about Auphonic, and Michael DeWeese said that's what he does. I was like, what? And George from Auphonic responded and said, yeah, here's documentation about it. Kind of cool. All right. This week's Programming by Stealth wasn't a heavy lift, but I managed to get confused a couple of times anyway, so expect lots of questions from me on this one. Bart started the show by telling us about a clever tip from listener Jill of Kent, not to be confused with Jill from the North Woods, about how to detect when the terminal is talking to and from standard in, standard out, and standard error. Then we learned about how to use the printf command to make nicely formatted output. I especially like that part because I love me some organized output. As always, you can find Bart's fabulous tutorial show notes at pbs.bartificer.net, and you can find Programming by Stealth in your podcatcher of choice. I got a note from Ed Howland because he gets a shout out during Programming by Stealth, and he heard talking about Jill of Kent, and he says he would like to be always referred to now as Edmund from the North. It sounds like somebody from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Is that where it came from? If it isn't, it sounds like it, right?
It sounds like it could be. I don't recall that specific name being from GOT.
Does anybody know? Another Jill, not Game of Thrones. It isn't Game of Thrones? I can't picture an Emma and Edmund. Well, Jill seems adamant that she knows, so that's good. Maybe UK history, or maybe he's just making a joke. That's altogether possible. All right. Here we go. This week, Chuck Joyner published an interview he did with me for his Road to Macstock series on his show, Mac Voices. He's having many of the speakers on to describe what people can learn from the talk they will be giving. It's supposed to get you excited about Macstock if you've already signed up, and jealous of Macstock if you haven't, and to get you to sign up to go. It's such a terrific trip. You really should check out Macstock Conference and Expo. Anyway, the last time I spoke at Macstock, Chuck had me on for the same reason. But as I started talking about my planned presentation, which was just weeks away at the time, Chuck pointed out that I didn't sound that excited about my topic. He was actually right. I was really not thrilled at all about what I had chosen. So we noodled a bit and we came up with an idea that I was very excited about. I think it was when I decided to talk about mind mapping with iThoughts. And I was super excited about that topic because you know how I love a mind map. Anyway, changing my topic that late really caused havoc for the organizer, Mike Potter, because the programs had already been printed for the show. So anyway, this year, I decided not to tell Mike what I'm talking about until after I talked to Chuck. I thought the conversation was great fun, even though Chuck wasn't always keeping up with me. Anyway, I put a link in the show notes, and you can listen at that link in the show notes, or you can watch the video at macvoices.com. And of course, you can find Mac Voices where? In your podcatcher of choice. You can go back and listen and figure out what I'm talking about. I should probably start working on that soon. All right.
That's in July?
Yeah. I got plenty of time. Jill wrote her presentation like a month and a half ago. I didn't want to announce it on the show, but Jill is going to be on Mac Voices too. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be speaking at Macstock, correct?
Well, that's what I mean. She's a speaker, okay. So she's going to be on the show. That's going to be so fun. Get to see Jill again. We haven't seen each other in ages. All right. So the only thing I could think of for a link for this is the direct link to the Discord. Do you think that'll be weird to have a direct link to it?
I'm sorry, for what?
I'm sorry. I'm talking about WWDC next and hanging out with the NosillaCastaways.
Oh, yeah. That you mean the chat? Yeah, the chat link. That should work.
Yeah. Hello, Franco Carroll. Hey, I said something nice about you in Slack about your mermaid diagrams in the PBS students organization. I can't believe how little text turns into such a cool diagram. That's really impressive. Plus, it occurred to me, if you do a mermaid diagram, it's accessible, right? Because you could just read the text.
One of the few ways a diagram's accessible.
Yeah, not many are. All right, here we go. Well, WWDC is coming up really soon on Monday, June 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. As is our tradition, Steve and I will be hanging out in the NosillaCast live chat room during the keynote so we can chat with the NosillaCastaways. Now, we don't broadcast video and we don't impose our audio on anyone. It's all just going to be texting and chatting in text. And it's actually in Discord. Now, if you haven't been to the live show before, the easiest way to find it is to just go to podfeed.com/live. This will take you to a web page that has the embedded video, which will not be live. I think it'll probably be like the day before show. But there's also a window into the Discord channel where we'll be chatting. However, if you want to go right to the Discord channel and join it, I put a direct link in the show notes to the live chat channel there. Anyway, I hope you'll join us to be amazed, disappointed, have a laugh or two. And by the way, Bart usually shows up there too. So if you want to chat with him about what they're talking about on stage, that's the place to be. See you a week from Monday, or Monday, June 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Well, that's not right. You just got to talk to them. They can't have a work meeting on top of it. All right. Up. Hey, Sandy, is that charger still on sale, or did it go off sale on Amazon? Do you know? The charger I'm going to talk about? On sale today only. Yeah, so I'm not going to announce it. To everybody listening in the live chat as of this moment, when you hear about this charger, if you want to buy it for 25% off, you should buy it right now. But I'm not going to talk about it on the big show. All right. Save. I did do a chapter mark. Thanks, Kevin. No. Just to prove to myself that I could write a review that is not 2,000 words long, I'm going to explain why you might need yet another charger for your devices. Now, it's table stakes these days that any charger you buy has to be made with gallium nitride, or GaN. Compared to the older silicon chargers, GaN chargers are lighter, they can deliver faster charging, and they can handle high power without getting hot. So if you're traveling, lower weight is the key ingredient in that list, so you might be interested in this. When Barry Falk came to visit us a few months ago, what was that? Why did I stop in the middle of the word months? Barry Falk came to visit us a few months ago. He was packing the Anker gallium nitride prime 65-watt charging station. This charger sports one USB-A port and two USB-C ports, but it also has two AC outlets on it. Since it has to be plugged into an AC outlet to work, that's really only a gain of one, but it's still a big advantage because both of the outlets on the Anker charging station have room around them so you can plug in your two big power supplies. The Anker charging station provides 65 watts of power, so that's enough for charging smaller laptops quickly, or even power-hungry laptops like the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros if you have a little bit more time. They tend to like 100 watts, but you can totally do it with a 65-watt charger. Now, as with all recent Anker power devices, it also has Power IQ, which they say intelligently identifies your device to deliver the fastest possible charge. For this charger, Anker claim that you can charge a 14-inch MacBook Pro to 50% in just 37 minutes. So maybe you don't need as much time as I thought. The form factor of the Anker charging station is unique. It's an elongated oval with one of the AC outlets on one side and the rest of the ports on the opposite side. The charger has a built-in 3-foot power cable, and it wraps around the charger for storage and travel. There's a flexible rubber kind of skirt that goes around the oval to cover most of the wrapped up cable. With it neatly wrapped away, you still have around 5 inches of the cable with the plug on the end. Now, again, with that 5 inches of cable, that means you have those two outlets accessible way out from behind a bed or behind a TV where you finally found a place to plug in your charger. The charger comes in dark gray or white, and it costs $70 US at Anker.com or on Amazon. As soon as we saw Barry's, Steve and I each bought an Anker GaN Prime 65-watt charging station for our travel bags. Boom. Did you hear that? 379 words, and I spent your money again.
Well, how nice of you.
I know, right? Hang on. I put it away, but I should show it to you. Don't pull my headphones out. So this is the charger. It was kind of hard to describe. Like, would you call that an elongated oval? Is that the right word for that?
I would say so.
I was kind of struggling with that. And then, so this is the skirt that you peel up
Lifting
around
up the
it.
skirt.
Woo, blows my dress up. So you can look at it like that. And then this comes out and it kind of sticks in a little notch, which I could have talked about, but 379 words. But anyway, you unplug that, undo that. So you put that in there, pop it in, and then you can put the skirt back down. You got all your ports on this side.
What do you got?
An AC outlet on
So you
the
got
other side.
AC on one side. Oh, you got two AC,
AC,
and then a
and
USB A and two Cs.
Yeah. So cool stuff. What he beat in the final? At what?
So Zoe brought up earlier that Barry won the video game contest at in Vegas. I was probably what Scott's Nerdtacular. What do they call it?
Yeah, they don't do Nerdtacular anymore, but the Vegas thing. Oh, that's fun. Frog Pants meetup. That's fun.
Scott and Brian's meetup. I guess that's what we call it.
Blame Barry. Okay. Well, it's a long title, but I'm going to put the whole thing in. This is going to be from Frank.
Your Max podcast.
No, Your Max Now? No.
Your
Max, but it's not a podcast.
Well, that's what he calls it.
Huh. Okay. Maybe he did a podcast at one time.
Maybe at one time
he's going to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to come back and do it. All right. All right. Here goes. Nope. I'm going to read it. It's actually a little bit hard to read his website. You mentioned.
Yeah, he could work on contrast.
Yeah. Accidentally closed Bear, but I'm going to read it from my editor because it's too hard to see. There we go. Oh, I got to read this first, though. Here we go. Very good friend of the show and friend of Steve and mine, Frank Petrie wrote an op-ed recently on his blog YMP Now, where he suggests a different announcement from WWDC than anyone else is predicting. Now, he had hoped to record it himself, but he's a bit under the weather and some things have gotten in the way, so he asked me if I would read it instead. Now, I can't hold a candle to Frank in imitating his style of delivery, as you well know, but I'm happy to bring this message to you as best I can. Here's that op-ed from Frank. That sounded really fake. Okay, here's the op-ed from Frank. Everyone is making a case for one more thing. Mac glasses, Mac Pro, what have you. As I look at rumors for one more thing and Apple press releases, they all seem to be pointing at one missing piece of the puzzle that I think will either be announced or debuted at WWDC 2023. Let's look at the timeline. M1 and M2 iPads are released in the spring and fall of 2022. Everyone agrees that these raise the level that you can perform video editing, rendering, 3D modeling, and other heavy lifting that you may have a need to do. Now, we need software. But the more we cry for software, the more resolutely they seem to dismiss the problem. And even worse, Apple appears to be leaning strongly into DaVinci Resolve the last several events. Mumbling and grumbling begins that Apple may not be willing to tackle coding FCP or Final Cut Pro for the beastly silicon tablets. Then, in May, Apple, with a mere press release, announces the unheralded release of Final Cut Pro and Logic exclusively for iPad. I stumbled that too much. Then, hard to read in someone else's cadence, you know? Then in May, Apple, with a mere press release, announces the unheralded release of Final Cut Pro and Logic exclusively for iPad M series. Huzzah! Let the birds sing and the babies cry. Next, iJustine, fellow YouTube personalities, and select members of the press get a limited time with the preview in the hopes that they will go back and scream from the mountaintops. If you've watched any of the YouTube reviews, they were all very impressed with Apple's work. With the exception of a few missing pieces, they were all rightfully impressed. Apple announces it will be available for a subscription price on May 23rd worldwide. However, they all uniformly said they would try it, but most likely not use it as their primary editor of choice. The reason? Most of them perform their editing off of external drives in order to save space on the internal drive. And there's only one USB 3 port on the iPad. That's when I remembered a little rumor from several months back that everyone was laughing at. But I propose this leads us to our one more thing. WWDC 2023 releases the rumored 16-inch iPad Ultra, a 16-inch liquid retina display with ProMotion, True Tone, and P3 wide color screen, 2, possibly 3 USB-C ports, Thunderbolt 4 optional, powered by an M3 chip and a 2 terabyte to 8 terabyte SSD drive. Will it come with everything I want? No, of course not. Will it cost an arm and a leg? Yes, of course. Probably several internal organs as well. But think of it. Apple started by putting M-series chips in the revered tablet. Then they announced the release of Final Cut Pro and Logic for iPad's upper echelon. Boy, this is hard to read. Then they announced the release of Final Cut Pro and Logic for iPad's upper echelon devices. You now have everybody's undivided attention, and they're drooling and grasping for their wallets with sweaty palms, a demographic ripe for the picking. I think we've been played like a violin. There we go.
That's marvelously written. I like that.
It really is. Poorly executed on my part, but it really shows when I try to read somebody else's words why the podcast works with me using a script is because I write the way I talk, so it rolls off the tongue.
I like
not that I don't make mistakes.
I like drooling and grasping for their wallets with sweaty palms.
I like scream from the mountaintops and make babies cry. All righty. I've done some short bits. It's time for a long one. Actually, it's not that long. Copy link. Where's my... Come on. You are in the way. There. Nope, not you. Maybe you. Long, it's all relative. Yeah, long, short for me. All right, here we go. Back in 2015, I wrote an article entitled, okay, now I'm messing up my own audio. Should I say anything? Thanks for sending that in, Frank. That one really made me think. I hope you're right. That would be so fun. I also think it would be friggin' hilarious if they don't announce the Apple glasses. I think it'd be so fun. I'm probably the only one who thinks that way, but you know. Back in 2015, I wrote an article entitled Making Happy Audio, in which I walked through the different technologies that I was using to create listenable podcasts. In that article, I sang the virtue of a free cross-platform tool called the Levelator that will level the audio of an uncompressed recording. It was a marvelous tool because it created audio files that wouldn't require the listener to turn the volumes constantly up and down as one speaker was quiet and the next loud. The Levelator went into maintenance mode in 2010, and I abandoned it. In 2020, though, I wrote an article entitled The Levelator, It's Back, announcing that it had risen like a phoenix from the ashes and was even in the Mac App Store. Just thought of something. If I abandoned it in 2010, why did I talk about it in 2015? Oh, it was 2015. Huh. That's curious. Why was I singing the virtues of it? Oh, well. Shortly after that, I had Doug Kaye, the founder of the Conversations Network, on Chit Chat Across the Pond number 646, where he talked about how the Levelator had been created originally and what brought it back. I went searching for the Levelator a few weeks ago, and it appears to have been removed from the internet, and I mean removed. While you can find the binaries and source code for the levelator in the Internet Archives, the publication date is 2005 with the latest update in 2013, which is a decade ago. You have to really want to use this code to go down that path. Now, it's sad that this free tool is essentially gone, but I want to talk to you about what I use instead. I've mentioned the web service Auphonic a zillion times on the show, and I actually told you about the desktop app in that 2015 article about making happy audio. Now, I don't use the desktop app any longer because of the power of Auphonic's web-based tool. I look back through the 18 years of blog posts I've done, and I couldn't find an article where I actually explained Auphonic in its new form, how to use it, and why I have it set up the way I do. I decided it's high time I rectified that situation. Even if you don't ever want to or need to do any audio processing of your own, I think it'll be interesting to learn a little bit about what goes on in the background of producing the podcast. So let's start with what Auphonic actually does. Auphonic automates a ton of different processes for me, including sweetening my audio, compressing the files, sending them where they need to go, creating transcripts, and more. All of this is automated through nice little templates, so it's literally a push of a button for me to produce the show. This automation makes everything go smoothly every week without hiccups. Well, as long as I hand it the correct file and I haven't made any boo-boos in the recording. For example, 2 weeks ago, I had the intro music way too loud. And even though I noticed it while recording and I brought it up to the live audience, I, for some reason, didn't put it together that its loudness was going to come through on the final recording. I actually turned down my headphones so it wouldn't be so loud for me. But I should have thought, wait a minute, why is it too loud for me? Anyway, I passed that file with the audio way too loud up to Auphonic, and it did its best to try to fix it, but it can't perform miracles. Luckily, I always do a test listen after Auphonic is done, and I caught my mistake, and so you never had to actually hear it. Now, if you have really modest needs, you can use Auphonic for free for 2 hours per month. Obviously, I talk way too much to fit into the free plan. If you need more than 2 hours, you can pay monthly for recurring credits, or you can even buy one-time credits. It starts at $11 US for 9 hours per month, and it goes up to 100 hours per month for $99. Now, I used to only run the NosillaCast through Auphonic, but last year, I got tired of doing all the work by hand for Programming by Stealth and Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, and now they all get the kid glove treatment as well. I can fit into the lowest plan with a little few extra credits here and there to supplement. Now, it's an interesting business model that makes a lot of sense. As the services continue to get better and better with more features, the developer, George Holtzman, has never raised the price. I wouldn't be surprised if he has to at some point, but I'm glad it's been so stable. The primary function of Auphonic provides is intelligent leveling of the audio you hear. While much of the NosillaCast is recorded by just little old me in front of a mic in one sitting, like right now, when Bart and I record security bits, the levels will be far different from my solo recordings. We do work to get our levels close to each other, but the absolute level won't be the same as me alone. And of course, we have our wonderful contributors whose recordings will also be different from mine. Auphonic's adaptive leveler corrects the differences between speakers, and it can even tell the difference between speech and music to level appropriately. The other tricky bit that makes the leveling in Auphonic intelligent is that it doesn't just make everything louder. That would amplify background noise. You can even tailor what's considered noise in your recordings. While Auphonic's adaptive leveler is much more advanced than the levelator ever was, the other primary function Auphonic provides for my shows is achieving consistent and specific loudness. It turns out there's actually a specification for loudness in podcasting, and if everyone adhered to it, you would never need to change the volume when you jump between podcasts. Paul Figiani taught me about loudness 100 years ago when it was a lot harder to meet the standard. But now with Auphonic, you can just set it up once in your template and you know it will always be right. Now, a few years ago, I asked, let me just fix that. I want to drink of water anyway. Now, a few years ago, I asked the audience if you really wanted chapters in the podcast, and I hoped you'd say no, but it was a resounding yes, please, from basically everybody. I create the chapter marks inside my recording software, Hindenburg, but you can also create them inside the Auphonic interface. By the way, one of the things the desktop app doesn't do is preserve chapters, and that's why I could get away with Chit Chat Across the Pond and security bits. No, I get why you. By the way, one of the things the desktop app doesn't do is preserve chapters, and that's why. One of the things the desktop app couldn't do is preserve chapter marks. Nope. Oh, that is right. One of the things the desktop version of Auphonic doesn't do is preserve chapter marks. And that's why I could get away with doing Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite and Programming by Stealth through the desktop app. But when I decided I can't ad lib, I just can't do it. Never mind. Now, one more time. By the way, I used to run Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite and Programming by Stealth through the desktop app, so you still had good audio, but I couldn't do it. Okay, nope, don't get to do it. Can't do it. Auphonic takes my lossless M4A file, which is pretty big, and it encodes it as an MP3 file for the podcast. It adds all of the metadata for me, like the image you see in your podcatcher, the year it was made, and who made it. Then it uses secure FTP to send it along to Libsyn, which is where I serve out all of the audio files for the show. Now, I haven't ever announced this before, but did you know that you can get all of the Podfeed podcasts on YouTube now? And you have Auphonic to thank for that. I turned Jill from when Jill from the Northwoods started podcasting, I turned her on to Auphonic, and then now she has taught me how to do a lot of stuff in Auphonic, and one of those things was how to have it create videos. These are not the most interesting YouTube videos you'll ever see. They're just the logo with a waveform bouncing around while you listen. Evidently, a fair number of people just play YouTube via. I'm distracted by some typos. Let me finish this, and then I'll tell you, Steve, where I'm going to ask you to help with a couple of typos. Evidently, a fair number of people just play YouTube in the background anyway. So if you're one of those people, you have yet another way to listen to the Podfeed podcasts. Can you look at, let's see, because look for while OU listen. It should be while you listen.
All right. I noticed another thing. I don't know if you want to fix it now. The link. What was it the link for? Hold on.
You're going to forget the one I just told you, though, aren't you? I'll fix it.
Auphonic's
okay, you find that one.
Auphonic's link doesn't work. The web service Auphonic a zillion times on the show, that part.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the link to? Let me find zillion.
I'll work on the U.
I fixed it already. Don't touch it.
Oh.
Why would that one not work? I'm going to back up. There was another one. Bad gateway. Did I misspell it? No, Auphonic's down. Oh, no. It's a bad time to tell everybody Auphonic. Can you get into Auphonic right now, Jill? That ain't good. There's another one, though. There was an explanation. Oh, no. I don't know where George lives. I have a feeling he might live someplace not in the U.S. because his name is spelled Georg, and then Holtzman. Yeah. Jill, can you tweet him? Because he's active on Twitter. Tweet the Auphonic account. Make sure they know. Actually, somebody could go to George. It's just the Auphonic account. If you just @ Auphonic on Twitter, they would know. I would do it, but I gotta finish this show probably. I don't know whether thanks, Jill. I appreciate it. All right. Last year, right before everything on Earth got AI in it, George started letting us create transcripts in Auphonic using the Whisper model by OpenAI to accomplish this feat. And that's how we have transcripts of all of the Podfeed podcasts. Guess what? He didn't even charge extra for this new feature. Now, I hadn't thought about it before, but in his documentation about the transcripts feature, he points out that having a full transcript means the podcast is searchable. Now, I feed a mono M4A file to Auphonic, which means I don't take advantage of one feature of the tool, and that's its ability to apply its talents to multi-track recordings. It can level different speakers separately and even apply noise gates differently to the separate channels. It can remove crosstalk between microphones and remove room reverb. That would be a great option if you record in a public, less controlled setting than I have. The bottom line is I don't have to think about Auphonic much because it's simply an automation setup now. That's probably the biggest compliment I can give it. When I tweeted out this article, I found out from Michael DeWeese that Auphonic has another feature I don't even know about, another way to make this even more automatic. You can put your audio file into a cloud service like Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive and have Auphonic watch that folder and automatically run all of the automations of your preset on that file without you even having to tell it. So there's more automation I can do with this than I even know. So back to the automation thing and how I don't even have to think about it. As soon as I hit the button on my Stream Deck to launch my Show's Over automation, my web browser opens to auphonic.com. I choose which show I've just recorded to get to the right preset. I upload my file, and in a few minutes, everything is ready for me to produce the podcast. The next time you're appreciating the audio quality of any of my shows and how quickly the show comes out, you should thank George Holtzman of Auphonic. Except for right now when it's down. Oh, man. Maybe it was the wild popularity of my show that really did it. I think I had an exclamation point and a parenthesis and a period after. Yeah, there it is. No, that's weird. Somewhere I did. Maybe it was a period, parentheses, exclamation point. Somewhere in one of these. Nope. All right, send a blog. Fix that. Stayed published. Good. Okay, it's time to panhandle for money. Podcast transcripts to locate key parts of PBS, which I only partially remember to go back to exact time. Oh, that's cool. I might just mention that. You know, the one thing, I have a feeling I'm actually not taking advantage of something else it can do, and maybe Jill can answer this. When I finish the show, I get an audio waveform where I can see the before and after. It's really cool. You can see how great it looks afterwards and how it's leveled and how the volumes come up and all that. And then you can download each of the different files that it's created, like the MP3 file or the transcript file. But from that view, you can search for words in the podcast. Like if there's like, oh, I know he talked about stash in Git. You could type it in there and it would actually fast forward to that part. But I don't know how to save that version of the podcast or point people to that version of the podcast. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing you could, but that'd be like a URL you'd send people to of where all the downloads are. I kind of assumed only I could see that, but don't know. All right, I'm going to panhandle for money. So many people keep this show going through so many different ways. Whether you contribute by coming to the live show or writing articles and making recordings for the audience, or whether you just post fun things in our Slack, all of these people keep the community lively and fun for everyone. I also really appreciate the folks who keep the show going financially, because it does cost a fair bit of money to make this show work. If you can support the work by going to podfeed.com/Patreon or podfeed.com/PayPal, I'd really appreciate it. I think so. I can't test it. Yeah, because she's logged in. All right, Security Bits music. show. Oh, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. And it's not going to be a long show, but I'm going to see. Oh, there's going to be math to do. And I know you guys don't like to help me do the math.
Does it involve time?
Yes, it does.
If you only had a tool.
If I only had a tool, let me find my bookmark. I've got a bookmark to it on GitHub. This one. So if you go here, you can do time math with me. So the problem is I hit my microphone at 13 minutes into the episode, but I don't know where 13 minutes is. So I've got to do math to figure out. I got to figure out where this is. Let me separate these first. So I have to do it once. I'll get rid of me on Bart on this track. Get rid of me on this track. And we pull Bart up and we kind of center him, eyeball him about there. You want to hear a quick plink?
Mm-hmm.
Blink. That was as quick as they get. Let's see. I don't want to do all those. Let me cut that. Come on.
Plink. There are the plinks.
Yeah, that needs to just be an animated GIF now.
Many flavors.
Oh, I forgot the chapter mark. I'm sure Kevin reminded me, but I forgot. So Jill, I sent you, or actually you probably already saw it, but it looks like Hindenburg is coming out of beta in 4 days. Slack. Okay, let's see how this connection goes first. Pal, I'd really appreciate it. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for... I like it. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate here. I am at 1848. So
you still haven't put the marker in. Are you just waiting to do this first?
Why do you think I haven't put it in? It's right there.
There it is.
Where did you look?
It's hard to read at this small of a...
Well, then you shouldn't correct it.
I thought I was reading something else.
Yeah. 1848, and I want to add 1336 to it. That would be 3224. That should be where I hit the mic. Is that cool? Somebody say it's cool. My app is cool.
It'll be cool if we can see it, if it works.
32. Let's see. So the problem is that I may not have been accurate on where I hit the microphone. 32, 34. Let's see. Is it around here? It should have been pretty loud.
That I would send you an email that you did not internet.
You
did not print the internet.
I can't hear this if you.
Are you the top?
Yes.
From the internet. You did not think the internet was
You thought
involved.
it was.
No, you thought it was a file.
My microphone there. Look at that. Look at that. 3221. So I was pretty close. Let's see. And I nailed it. That was good. We're arguing a bunch here. We never resolved it. Let's see.
That's the trick. Otherwise, it's just downloading from a URL.
You don't download a URL.
You think it's a file. It's actually
emailing me a file. We went back and forth. Finally, I said, we're agreeing. And we kept yelling at each other. Never resolved it. Okay, so now I got to do this again because at around 52 minutes. So now, so it was 18 minutes was when I started. So now let's go 52 minutes. And that would be at about an hour, 10 minutes, and 1 hour, 10:48. So that's really 70:48. It's a long episode. Oops. So, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. 1839. Yes. And then I'm going to go to, that'd be 70. 1 hour. Oh, there it goes. 1 hour, 10 minutes. Bart pauses all of a sudden. I don't know if I can recover from this.
Are interacted with is through their social media. So as a parent, you do need to keep an eye on their people. And now it means that you need to be aware of what's going on social media so that you... of the United States, Dr. Vivek Murthy, has released an advisory warning show. It's a show that we both have in our podcatchers because it rang many bells. Yeah.
Okay. So now all we need to do is do a correlation between our two. We eventually figured it out.
And definitely not in the good news column, but
we just had a little pause there. Say that last sentence again.
Okay,
we got to figure out where he repeated.
Did I get as far as saying that Malicious Life, and they have experts on explaining how the money works in cybersecurity today in 2023. So I thought it was a fascinating episode. So I just wanted to thank people of that. And definitely not in the good news column, but did I get as far as saying that Malicious Life did a whole episode on the economics of cybersecurity and that it's an excellent episode?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next story I have then.
Okay, there we go. We did cut it perfectly. See if that works.
So I thought it was a fascinating episode. So I just wanted to thank people of that. So the next story I have then is it's an angle of this whole ChatGPT thing.
There. Got it. Using my tool.
Mm-hmm. Look at that tool go.
Sandy, you're really paying the price on the internet here. All right.
So I guess that's good. But of course, folks, always remember, stay patched so you stay secure.
All righty. Well, we will end the show pretty early so you can not be so stressed about it. Maybe go read a book or something. I would hate that. All right. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know that you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, just send it on over. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed at chaos.social. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. If you want to join the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show where we are really missing seeing Frank Wheels, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. I know it sounds funny to call him Frank Wheels, but I didn't want Frank O'Carroll to think he was being missed, right? I mean, we would miss Frank O'Carroll if he was in here, but that's not who we're currently. It's so hard. Okay. Play the music out. Castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Whoop, too late. Right there. Subscribe. All right, do a chapter mark count, Kevin says. All right, what do you got, Steve?
8, if you can. You did one for WWDC, right?
6, 7, 8. Yeah.
I think 8.
8. All righty. 8 it is. We're calling it at 8.
Yeah. We surprisingly we agree. No, it's not that
we agree on everything, honey.
All the time.
We never argue. Ever.
Throughout our 40 years of marriage. No arguments.
All righty. Well, I thank everybody for coming. Thank you. I got to kiss Rose goodbye. Goodbye, Rose. Mwah. And Sandy, I hope your internet comes back up. And Kevin, I hope your friends and parishioners are doing better soon. And as always, missing Frank. Thanks for coming, everybody. Zoe, are you back in England or are you still in the US? Actually, you said it was tomorrow, so I bet you're back in England. All right.
Goodbye,
everybody. Say goodbye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Good night, Gracie.